While helping ants fight, I accidentally found the entrance to a miniature world. A single egg I casually dropped and actually fed the whole village of 50 people for 3 days. Because of this, the people here worshipped me as a god, and I brought them food every day. It wasn't until I accidentally saved a tiny girl that I realized this miniature world was actually the late Ming Dynasty. It all started when I found a terrarium inside an anthole. After excitedly bringing it home, I realized there were tiny moving people inside. At that moment, a young girl holding a bamboo basket was digging for grass roots and tree bark in the endless yellow sand. Finding a few green leaves of wild veggies made her as happy as finding treasure. But right after she returned to the village, I heard strange noises. Then, a group of tiny people suddenly rushed toward the village from outside, holding rusty swords. They stormed into the village and yelled, "Listen up, people inside. Hand over all the food in your houses right now, or I'll slaughter every single one of you." Next thing I knew, the girl's door was kicked open, and she and her mother were dragged out. The two of them started crying and screaming, "Please, boss, let us go. We really don't have any food. Look, our family is eating grass roots." The tiny bandit didn't care at all. He glared fiercely at the girl. "I don't care if you eat grass roots or tree bark. If you don't hand over food, I'll chop you down." Hearing this, the girl burst into tears out of fear. Her mother rushed over, hugged her, and begged for mercy, but the bandit slashed the old woman right in the neck. Red liquid sprayed everywhere. Then, he swung his sword at the girl. Seeing this, I couldn't hold back anymore. I lifted the lid of the terrarium, reached into the box, and flicked my finger. Meanwhile, in Gao family village of the Ming Dynasty, a giant hand suddenly emerged from the clouds. The girl, Gao Yiye, felt something blocking the sunlight. She looked up with a tear-stained face, only to see a giant hand reaching quickly toward her. It flicked a finger right above her, and the bandit who was swinging his sword was sent flying backward right past Gao Yiye, streaking across the sky until he landed on the yellow sand outside the village. He fell with a heavy thud, all his bones shattered upon impact. At the same time, a voice like thunder echoed from the sky. "You damn bandit!" Then, the hand retracted into the clouds and disappeared. At this point, Gao Yiye completely forgot to cry. She just stared blankly at the sky. Seeing their buddy suddenly go flying, the rest of the bandits swarmed over. They glared viciously at Gao Yiye. "Little brat, what did you just do?" Holding her mother's body, Gao Yiye shook her head in total confusion. "If you won't talk, I have plenty of ways to make you." The bandit leader stepped forward and raised his rusty sword to strike her down. But the very next moment, the leader let out a scream and instantly vanished. The remaining bandits were shocked and started yelling at Gao Yiye. Their shouts were filled with anger, panic, and fear. It was then that Gao Yiye realized. Only she could see that giant hand. She looked up at the clouds in the sky, and where the clouds parted, she could vaguely see a man's face floating in the air, looking down like a god. So she put down her mother's body and knelt down toward the sky. "Lord God, please save us!" The sound of thunder rolled, and it seemed like something was falling from the sky. The bandits were so terrified they scattered everywhere. But the next second, a giant palm slammed down from heaven, smashing all the bandits into the dirt. The terrarium fell silent for a moment. Then, doors of broken houses in the village creaked open. The tiny villagers walked out and gathered around the bandits I had flattened. While whispering among themselves, they kept looking up at the sky. Some people also crowded around the tiny girl, asking her questions. Their voices were like mosquito hums. If they didn't yell, I couldn't hear them at all. The next moment, the tiny villagers got busy. They stripped the bandits of their weapons and clothes. Each household got a weapon. Then they dug a pit outside the village and buried the bodies. They also chopped some wood to make tombstones for their own fallen villagers. But it seemed no one in the village knew how to read, so not a single word was written on the tombstones. They just carved a few crooked marks with a knife to identify which family they belonged to. The tiny girl knelt in front of one of the graves, crying as she kowtowed heavily. I watched quietly for a long time until I went to sleep that night. When I woke up the next day, I boiled 2 eggs and went to the terrarium. The tiny people had already started working, and that tiny girl was already out there with her bamboo basket, searching for grass roots on the yellow sand. She just lost her mother yesterday. She probably hadn't recovered from the grief yet, but she had no choice but to throw herself into the search for food. Gao Yiye had been searching the sand for half a day, and her limbs were losing strength. Her body was swaying a bit. She didn't know how much longer she could hold on before starving to death, but she knew that day was getting closer. Right at that moment, a sigh echoed from the sky. "This girl has it so hard." Hearing the voice, Gao Yiye jerked her head up and saw a young man's face appearing in the clouds. The girl knew she was saved. Once again, she knelt down devoutly. "Lord God, I'm so hungry, I can't hold on much longer. Please have mercy and save me." Like a helpless little animal, Gao Yiye waited quietly for the god's blessing. However, after waiting for a while, nothing happened. When she looked up, she realized the man's face in the clouds had vanished without a trace. Is the Lord God unwilling to help me? Maybe killing those wicked bandits yesterday was just the Lord God acting on a whim. If he answered every prayer, there wouldn't be any suffering in the world, right? Come to think of it, I've never offered him any tributes, so why should he help me? She gritted her teeth and went back to looking for grass roots. Meanwhile, I stood up from the terrarium and walked into the kitchen. The stove was on, and the water in the pot was boiling. The 2 eggs I just dropped in the water were almost fully cooked. I walked back to the terrarium holding an egg in one hand. Inside the box, the tiny girl was still searching tirelessly on the yellow sand. I said softly, "Hey girl, let me try giving you some food." The tiny girl froze, looked up at the sky, her eyes full of pleasant surprise. Then the clouds parted to the sides, and a giant hand reached down, placing a massive egg on the yellow sand in front of her. Gao Yiye's jaw dropped. She stared in shock at what looked like an egg from an ancient behemoth. It scared her so much she stumbled back a few steps. "Is this an egg?"